Welcome to the Neural Talks, your gateway to the forefront of AI innovation. I'm your host, Ranjith Melarkode, and together we'll explore the AI revolution with the brightest minds pushing boundaries and shaping the future. Through candid conversations, they share hard-won insights as we unlock the transformative power of AI. Get informed, get inspired. This is the future, and you're in the front row. Hey, Bharani, lovely to have you again on our podcast. Would love an intro, for our audience to you, and also a small intro to how you are connected to AI and what you do in that space.
Hey, Ranjit, good to be back. Thanks for having me here again. Currently, I'm playing the role of CTO for India and Middle East with Thoughtworks. You can say my relationship with AI is in two capacity. One, we use AI to do the software delivery. So right from ideation to brainstorming possible journeys to actually writing code and testing it. So that is one part of using AI in software development. And we also use AI as a part of what we call as Gen AI products. So these are, you can think of them as applications with intelligence, right? Like these are normal transactional apps with embedded intelligence. So those are the two capacities in which I'm related to AI.
Fantastic. A strategic view and a practitioner's view, very valuable. So jumping straight into the question, Bharani. Gen AI versus AI. How should practitioners think about this across products, engineering, business? Would love to get your views on this.
Yeah, so there is now a lot of hype with Gen AI. So a lot of people who are new think, oh, this is everything AI has to offer. But if you rewind, AI has been around for like 3 or 4 decades now. So AI, think of when somebody calls it an AI, it's that overarching umbrella term. It could mean anything from your machine learning models or your deep language or deep neural network, or also Gen AI. So in some sense, a generative AI is a subset of AI, right? Which does generations for you. A classical AI is something like a recommendation systems. Let's say if a Netflix lets you watch a few movies and then recommends what you would be interested in, that's your classic recommendation algorithm that's at play, as opposed to what you're now used to ChatGPT, where it kind of produces content based on what's likely to come next, right? So those are the two differences. But honestly, if you ask me, a lot of people use AI in this overarching term. Whenever they say AI, they usually mean a machine learning model. And then you have a subset of that called Gen AI, which we all know about.
Yes. So is there any difference for businesses to think about this, Bharani, in terms of Gen AI versus AI, or they should just view it as AI overarching?
90% of the time, if it is in the context of generative models, it's all Gen AI. So most of the clients that I see, they talk about Gen AI. So if you have to be very specific, you need to ask this question: is this going to generate content, summarize content, answer question and answer kind of problems? All of them are in the umbrella of Gen AI. Or is it doing a classical work, right? Like, so businesses and practitioners have to be aware, like, what is it that you're talking about? But most of the execs nowadays, they worry about Gen AI.
Super. So generation is about summarizing, about putting things together and sort of creating new content. Classical AI is a larger superset, not a subset, and involves machine learning models for sure, but much more than that as well. Yeah. And people need to distinguish and ask this question. Super. So in that same line, question again: enterprise deployments of Gen AI versus enterprise deployments of AI, classical AI, machine learning. What should people watch for as product, tech, and business folks? What questions should they be asking? What answers should they be seeking?
I think one common denominator with both Gen AI and AI is your data, right? Like you can almost say that the models are almost a commodity now. Pretty much everyone have access to the bleeding edge research, either from academia or industry. So the differentiator is the data, right? So what we see in enterprise deployment is how matured are you in handling data, and for you to be ready for any Gen AI use case or even an AI and machine learning use case. So the typical challenges that we see is a lot of people think they have good data, but when we actually see it is all messy data, that it requires a lot of cleaning. You need to have a good shape of your data and good volume of your data, right? So that to me is a classic 101 problem that we face. But let's say you're matured and you have done your POC and you've tried few ideas and you're in this path of putting things to production. A key challenge that we have seen is that these models, especially the generative AI models, they don't behave in a deterministic way, meaning you would have done your classical UAT, and in the good old days, if the UAT is successful and you have known bugs and you have addressed them, then you're good to go. But that's not the case with Gen AI, right? Like you will always have surprises for n number of reasons, because maybe the data in production is different from what you have seen. So the models are not performing as good as you have expressed. Or the models themselves, a new version has been released and hence it's not performing the way that you have anticipated. So because of your data, and it need not be just the large language model, it will also be the models that you use in the retriever part. Let's say we talked about RAG, I think previously. So if your retriever model is not tuned enough, if your embedding model is not tuned enough, so there are n number of touch points in which you can have surprises in production. So one solid advice that we keep telling the clients is that you need to be aware that such things would happen, and you should have guardrails and metrics in place so that you can detect them early on, right? So you need to be aware that you're not leaking your PII data, right? You need to have a good guardrails in place. You need to embrace that these models are going to regress at some point of time, if not now, in future. And hence you need to have a good metric so that you know and detect that regression is happening, and you need to fine tune or fix or change your act, right? So those are the challenges that we are seeing, Ranjith.
No, super. I mean, so what you're saying is when you're starting off, go one level below, start with your data, make sure that the data is sufficient, regardless of whether it's Gen AI or AI. Make sure it's clean, make sure it's available, make sure it's well related. And then once you deploy, what you're saying is Gen AI specifically, testing is not enough. And testing is not, you can't really just assume that once you've tested, everything in production is going to go well. There are going to be surprises, expect surprises, and be prepared for them. Yeah. And there are frameworks, and there are ways in which to get around that. And for more on that, I think we've already done a podcast. And for our viewers, if you want to know more about that, there's a podcast that Bharani has done earlier on frameworks and metrics and how to actually do that with Gen AI/LLM models. So please look at that. Thank you so much, Bharani. Lovely having you here. Thank you for your bites.
Thank you, Ranjith. Thanks for having me.
Hope you enjoyed this episode of the Neural Talks. Hit subscribe or follow us on LinkedIn to stay informed of many more great episodes on AI coming up. We're the Neural, where humans meet AI.